tries to analyze what is implicit meaning inside the written poems of the poet. The critic is expected to understand and expand the context of a poem so that poem may become intelligible and its full value may be grasped. He is expected to understand and expand the context of a poem. Say, for example, we all must have heard about T.S. Eliot's The Westland. Now, the beginning of the Westland say the April is the cruelest month. That it says that the season in the England, April is the season when the rain arrives on the firmament or the fields of English, Britain. Then if the rain comes, then the poet complains that April is the cruelest month. Means he says that we don't want life now. In a sense, if a person is not knowing that why poet is rejecting the new arrival of the life on the world, then one will fail to understand what T.S. Eliot really is describing in his poem The Westland. One has to have the background, or what we can say, the understanding, the wide expansion of knowledge that poet is talking about the post effect of World War I, when a person is not liking to live on the world itself, that life itself has become the curse in comparison of earlier days when there was no war such as World War I. So a kind of understanding about the text requires a kind of expansive, or one can say open way to analyze the work of art. And in that sense, I. Richards begins his criticism about the text, and it has been considered, as you can see on the slide, as one of the significant aspects about the quality of the critic. Now let us move towards the another analysis of the text. He says, a poet writes to communicate. Now, generally, as we had seen in the earlier lectures, Roman Jakobson's the graph of a kind of literature and the reason why the poet or the novelist is writing. They want to communicate. Here also, I. Richards says the poet writes to communicate. Now, through what a poet communicates? As simple as language. And language is the vehicle to communicate the idea of the writer to the readers or to the audience. Whether it is the play of Shakespeare, the language which is spoken by the characters on the stage becomes the vehicle to convey the ideas of William Shakespeare to the audience, those who are sitting in the balcony or the upper class, or what we can say, the ponder of the pit. Now, through language, this is the idea of the writer is conveyed to the audience. Now, following that, language is made of words. What I. Richards says, now this language is the outcome of the words. The words have been the significant part of the entire language. And hence the study of the words is important for if we want to understand the meaning of the work of art. Now, in the case of literary critic, the study of word becomes utmost necessary to make his work of art more and more significant. And word, as we have seen or we know in the case of Indian culture, Sabda Brahma, and Sabda Brahma means Aksar is, that the name of a kind of place where Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, three of them are residing. And Aksar is also a kind of a first letter, or we can say the letters in language that we use. So in case of I. Richards, it's a word, the study of the words is the most significant part to understand the meaning of the work of art. Means if you want to analyze the entire work of art, you need to have a greatest command upon the each word that have been used by the writer in the case of text. Now word carry four kinds of meaning. Now even he goes deeper in the case of words even. He says that each word carry a kind of four kind of meaning. Which kind of meaning? You can say, to more precise, total meaning of a word depends upon the four factors, and they are sense, feeling, tone and intention. Now these are the four wheels of your wagon of language or communication, you can say. A word depends upon the sense, feeling and tone and intention. Now why these four things are there? Now first of all, if we go on the surface meaning of the word, the first thing is the sense. Now what is sense? Sense is something that is communicated by the plain or literary meanings of the words. Now what is the literary, or what we can say, the simple plain meaning of the word? Means, as we can go by the dictionary, this is the sense. Means apple means a kind of fruit that is being found on the apple tree. Now this is what we can say, the plain literary meaning. Now another supporting aspect to the word is feelings. What is feeling? Feeling means which imbibes emotions, attitude, will, desire, pleasure, unpleased and the rest of the feelings which we can express as the nuance of interest. Say for example, earlier we had seen the apple, the meaning, the sense of meaning a word called apple. Now if we can say apples of someone's eye, or rubbing the the kind of this apple of what we can say the most valuable company of mobile phone. Now this apple of someone's eyes, if we take the example, the feelings are also attached with it. Means if someone talks about the favorite or the most interested person of someone, then you use the feeling along with the, you attach feeling with the word called apple. Then the tone. Now tone is something is also significant to make the meaning of the word proper. The writer's attitude to his readers, which is in relation between them. The writer chooses his words and arrange them, keeping in mind the kind of readers likely to read his work. Now he arranges, the writer has to arrange the words. As we have seen that apple of someone's eye, if somebody says, that he is a spoiled apple of the entire bunch, means immediately the same word which was having the value has become negative. Means it also the arrangement of the writer and also the tone. If someone says good, you come here, and if someone says good, at least you come here, means both the good are the same, but at the same time the tone differs, that the intention of the person is attached with the tone, that because of what reason, how he is uttering or using the word, particular word, with the arrangement surrounding it, is also a kind of role played by the words. Words are known on the basis of the tone which author uses, which is selected, choose by the author. Fourth aspect that I. Richard mentions is the intention. Now what is intention? Intention can be called the overall framework of the author, that what author in total demands for, what author in totality likes to represent in front of the reader, that what is the motive of writer to write. Say for example, West Wind by the Percy Bysshe Shelley, most of you must have studied in your syllabus, that oh wild west wind, the west wind first of all is the wind, that non-living thing, but here poet writes upon that non-living thing. The intention of the author is that that non-living things should also have a kind of life-giving source. That intention is there, and that's why, if you remember, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Means, if a wind comes, can there be a life away from that wind? If disaster wind comes, then and then the seeds of the tree would scatter into the field, and then a rain can give the life to the scattered seeds into the field. Now, that is the intention. That is the one of the smallest example of the intention. That is what poet or the writer employs consciously or unconsciously in his work of art. It refers to the emphasis, shapes, arrangement, and draws attention to the something of importance. Means, west wind, in generally we don't focus upon the winds around us, but in case of west wind, if we remember that non-living thing also becomes significant for us due to the intention of the writer, that how he employs his words, how he arranges them, and how he wants to bring out the hidden significance of that non-living object called west wind. Now, let us move towards the next stage, that is significance of the context. As we have seen that context is also important according to the I.R. Richards. We have seen by now, students, let me remember you, work of art, significant work of arts contributed by the I.R. Richards. As a new critics, he played the significant role in the case of practical or pragmatic evaluation of the literature. He gave a kind of new coin term to the evaluation of the work of art from the Cambridge, that is called practical criticism, and that came out in 1929 as in the form of his work of literary criticism. From there, he brings out what he practically experimented in the classroom of Cambridge with his student by giving them poems without the name or any historical or biographical details. Students, let me bring out the basic idea behind his giving the poems without title or any biographical details to his students in the Cambridge. He used to experiment inside his classroom that how his students are able to evaluate the work of art given in front of them without the name of author or any historical details. It generated a kind of literary critical analysis in the mind of his student without biographical or historical aspects. Now, he emphasized his students to focus upon the words on the page. And he said to his students that now first you focus upon the words that have been given to you. Instead of anything else, you just focus how the words are playing on the page itself. If you can identify their game, their play on the words on the paper itself, then you will appreciate the poem better than anyone else. In many of the competitive exam nowadays, you must have seen the unseen paragraph or unseen passages or unseen poems. Why? Because students have to give their practical, pragmatic, or what we can say the empirical analysis of the text. And the root of this unseen passages or unseen paragraph lies in the experiments of I. Richards in Cambridge University during the earlier year of 1920s. Now let us move towards the significance of the context according to the I. Richards. He says the context in which a word has been used is all important. Words have different meanings in different contexts. Now, one word is good in one context and bad in the another. A context is a set of entities, things, or events related in certain ways. Say, for example, English is positive as far as our education is concerned, but if we go by the colonial theory, post-colonial revolts, English become the negative term. Means English is being hated by those who are thinking about Indian freedom fighters or Indian struggle of independence. Means one word in different contexts makes a different meaning. Along with that, he says words are symbol or sign and they deliver their full meaning only in a particular context. Means if you want to achieve a certain kind of meaning out of a particular word, you have to employ a certain kind of ambience for getting or achieving the particular meaning of that word particularly. Meaning is dependent on the context, but the context may not always be apparent and easily perceptible. Means meaning is dependent on the context. Context is necessary, but that context would not be visible. It may be invisible and not able to be perceived by the open eyes. Means context is significant, but the meaning of the word depends upon the context, but generally that context cannot be visible, and that is the work of art. That is the task of the literary writer, that he can play with the words and nobody can find out the trick that the writer has employed. Say for example, if we can say the tiger, tiger burning bright, means tiger is being repeated, or you can say any of the poem that has the repetitive sounds or rhythm, or you can say the meter. Now why a poet is using it easily cannot be understood. We like it, what we can say, the twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. The star is rhyming with the R. Then generally people don't focus upon that. They miss to find out a kind of context that a poet wants to arrange for the significance or the importance, or what we can say, the flowering of the meaning of the word that is there. Literary compositions are characterized by the rich complexity in which certain links are suppressed for concentration of effective and forceful expression. Means something